we have with us Mr. Rajendra Shende, who is chairman of Their Policy Center and former director of United Nations Environmental Program. Today here he welcome sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be with you people.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Today he is going to talk about there is a new program which Their Policy Center and Operation Earth from China has launched for the extension of friendship between India and China. Sir, we would like you to talk about it.
Okay. So there are a couple of dimensions to this particular program's concept. Number one is this is a program with our neighboring country, and it is between the two future giants in terms of economy, in terms of population, in terms of taking the leadership in the world. Second thing is it is about the environment.
Okay.
That particular collaboration and the dialogue between the youth is about the conservation of nature.
Okay.
That is the second thing. Third thing is going to benefit both the countries in a totally different way, because there is a lot of talk on saving the environment, conserving the nature, mitigating the climate change, waste minimization. A lot of conferences, a lot of workshops which keep on going on, but we don't see the actions. And I think the youth and what we call it is a present young generation, they represent the actions rather than a talk.
Okay.
And we are promoting that kind of thing. So these are the three dimensions of it, and the program is that way very, very simple. It is about information exchange by way of holding what is called as a field research expeditions.
Okay.
And that field research is about conserving the species which are endangered. In a typical IUCN language, International Union of Nature Conservation, it is called as a red list.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the species are getting extinct, and this extinction of species, if at all it is to be prevented, then you need urgent action. Why urgent action? Because economic development is proceeding very fast, and that speed of economic development is ferocious. Sometimes it is threatening, and it is also fearsome, because it's likely to threaten the human existence, because the economic development is accompanied with the degradation of the environment. And the degradation of the environment itself results into the threat to the existence of the humanity, because humanity depends on environment, it depends on nature, it depends on resources which are given by the nature.
Okay.
Those resources include the species. There is a huge biological chain which exists, which benefits the humanity for that, and hence the preventing the extinction of the species is very, very important. So that exactly is the background of this particular project.
So good to know about it. Like, would you just enlighten us about like how this particular idea, came into the existence?
Number one is India and China are the neighbors, and China is a big brother in terms of its geographical spread as well as population, and India is the largest democracy, having ancient culture. And the Chinese culture, particularly Buddhism,
Right.
was borrowed from India's philosophy.
Right.
The old ancient scholars like Yuan Tsang, they had come to India in search of Buddhist scriptures, trying to understand what are the various facets of Buddhism. And then they took those scriptures to China and tried to develop sort of a Chinese characteristic of Buddhism.
Right.
So that kind of exchange did take place.
Okay.
One cannot change the neighbors. Neighbors will always remain neighbors,
Yes.
particularly geographical neighbors. And advantage that we have in having a good rapport with China is that we have the ancient base and heritage of working together.
Right.
So we thought in Their Policy Center, as well as my friend Leon Shen in Operation Earth, that we need to promote that ancient legacy, and it should not get overshadowed by a small matters related to politics, related to the small issues like borders or the competition in a trade, in a world trade, and the competition in economic space. And I think these are the issues which are transient in nature. They are not going to remain permanent.
Right.
What remains permanent is the environment,
Yes.
is the cultural legacy, and that we need to promote.
Right.
So that is the first idea which came up with us, that how we can promote these kind of dialogue. Second thing is, luckily, President Xi of China and Prime Minister Narendra Ji Modi, they had in March, April 2018, few months back, what is called as an informal summit,
Yes.
which was meant for a heart-to-heart talk with the leaders, in order to make sure exactly the same thing, how as a neighbors we can guard our own space and develop and benefit our people and the society, economically, environmentally and socially. And they did not come out with a very formal communique in that, because it was an informal summit. And it was the credit goes to President Xi, because he invited Prime Minister Modi, and the credit goes to Prime Minister Modi because he wholeheartedly accepted it.
Right.
Because nowadays we see in the field that even if you are invited, you refuse to participate
Yeah.
for various reasons. And these two leaders met and discussed various things which we are not much aware of. But one thing which was clear, which came out, is that they wanted to promote people to people dialogue. I think that was a great message, that the leader to leader dialogue gets entangled in various small issues of politics, but people to people dialogue is much wider.
Yes.
And then we thought that within this people to people dialogue, if we can take up a issue of youth to youth dialogue, that will be much better, because in a short term as well as in a long term, when the youth becomes policy makers tomorrow, whether in a business, whether it is a government, or whether it is in a voluntary organization, they are the one who are going to take this legacy of India-China relationship, which goes more than 2,500 years back. They can take it up in a right spirit.
Okay.
That was the second part of the concept. Third part of the concept is, if that youth to youth dialogue is really related to the subject which matters today, that will be the great, instead of having an abstract subject.
Yeah.
For example, the degradation of the environment, climate change issues, biodiversity threats, waste minimization, the water conservation. These are the issues which are common to India and China. Many people think that India and China are enemies. I would say that India and China have common enemies. And these are the issues related to the climate change, environmental degradation, and host lot of things. So imagine that youth in China and youth in India start interacting to solve those issues, fight with that common enemy, and have what is called as a all scale massive attacks on that.
Right.
I think the youth is able to do that with a sense of urgency. Today you see that there is a dragging of the feet at the leaders level on taking actions on, for example, on climate change. But a youth has a capacity to take action faster.
Right.
And hence we said that the subject should be related to the environment. That's how the things have come up.
So what will be the actual content of this giant panda expedition?
See, the environmental degradation is a vast subject. So we had to select the subject which matters most today. If you see the evaluation of various species and the biological species and the biodiversity of it, and if you see the latest report from IUCN, we have seen that extinction of the species is, the rate of extinction is 5 to 10 times more than a natural extinction. The species do get extinct naturally as well, but this particular rate is a fearful rate. And for example, there is every year about 10,000 species get extinct, and some of them even we don't know which one are getting extinct, but then we find it later on. So we have found that India and China face the similar problems in species extinction. And if some of the species get lost, then the biological chain, which is related to the food chain, which is related to the nature conservation chain, that gets lost. So it is important to stop or
Right.
prevent those kind of extinction, which is basically taking place due to the human intervention. The human habitat, the human economic development, the cities, the buildings, infrastructure, it is encroaching in the forest, and they are narrowing the space of the animals, and that's why these animals don't have any place to go. And that's the one of the prime reasons for the extinction of it. Take for example the tiger in India, lions in India. Take the Marduk, which is called as a great Indian bustard in Solapur. And these are basically the examples how the economic development is narrowing the space of these wild animals. And that's why they are getting extinct. This same case exists in China. So we took up that as a subject
Okay.
and say that we have a tiger, they have pandas.
Right.
The pandas are also getting extinct. And within the pandas, there are various types of pandas, various types of species of pandas. We selected a giant panda which is endangered.
Okay.
And today's tiger population in India is anywhere between 2000 to 3000. Exactly the same figure exists for the giant panda in China. So we said that if giant panda activities related to the prevention of their extinction and prevention of their existence, prevention of their what is called as a degradation of their existence and life, if the China is doing some successful effort, we can contribute to it and we can learn from it, so that people after the exchange, then they come back to India, then they will benefit from it. So the content of this is the nationally selected team of volunteers through very tough competition will go to the resort where the giant pandas are being breeding is carried out. So it is a breeding center.
Okay.
Important thing is, many people think that breeding center is a good enough to increase the population. It is not. It's a wrong concept. After the breeding, we have to train them so that they can live in the jungle on their own. Right? Because the moment you breed in a very confined space, they become a domestic animals. We don't want to increase the domestic animal. We want to increase the wildlife.
Right.
Because that is what the nature wants. That's what our nature depends on. So the training of those giant pandas which are bred in the center are need to be trained to put back in the forest in their own surrounding. And that kind of a training is a project which myself and Leon Shen of Operation Earth, we thought of doing it.
Okay.
Because ultimately it is going to benefit India as well in terms of the tiger project.
Right. Okay.
So the content will be this team will be going there, working with the Chinese, working with the scientists in China,
Okay.
and contribute to this kind of a training, and then they will make the notes of it, have some kind of joint report, and it will not remain as a report in the shelf, which many times happens in many of our reports on environment. They will be implementing that, for example, tiger resort,
Okay.
or they will inform a Marduk Great Indian Bustard Resort, or any other resort where the species are in the red list of IUCN.
So you mentioned about like there would be a team which would be traveling from India to China to conduct this particular expedition. So what was the selection process and what was your overall experience while going through this entire selection process?
The first thing is we wanted to start it small, the project. We want to move with the caution. The reason is the project is innovative, is unique. It is not the best, but it is unique, and hence we have to select a small team. So we decided to select together with the Indian things and Chinese. I'm an advisor to Operation Earth, and so in our advisory committee meeting we decided that let's have 3 best youth, very appropriate youth for this kind of expedition. The resource also were constrained, because the resources for their travel, their lodging, boarding, everything is being taken care by Operation Earth as well as their policy center, including their visa fees and all the internal travels.
Okay.
And all this thing. So the selection process was not that easy. as you know, India's population is 1.3 billion. So even if you take 50% or 65% youth, it's a huge one.
Yes.
So how to select it? But our team in Their Policy Center, in consultation with Operation Earth, we devise a system. We devise a system of first getting the registration, those who are interested. And we gave the criteria, what exactly will be happening. So if you are ready to do that, register.
Okay.
So we had a huge lot of registration.
Uh-huh.
And then we culled out from there the right kind of qualified people who had a similar experience working within India and who have the passion for the nature. We collected from there about 11 of them for the next round. This is purely based on their biodata and their work and experience and internships and whatever they have carried.
Okay.
The age group was between about 16 to 21, that kind of thing. The second thing is, with these 11 candidates which are selected, we asked them to write a very challenging essay, not more than 1.5 page, to say about what actions are needed, knowing the urgency of environmental degradation.
Okay.
So we didn't want them to write an essay in general about the environment. We wanted them to see their action-oriented mind.
Right.
And we specifically told them that don't generalize, don't give what is called as a ubiquitous quotes, and don't give us what is called as a sort of a leadership lectures.
Right.
Tell us what you will be doing, what you want to do about anything.
Right.
Based on that, we ultimately selected 6-1 for final round.
Okay.
And final round is, we wanted to see today in a digital world their ability to carry the messages through the digital media. Because writing is a one thing, but probably that is a earlier century. Now they should express something digitally. So we asked them, take up your smartphone, just make a video. Make a video on any subject which reflects what you have written in essay.
Okay.
So we gave them a liberty. We don't tell them to go to the nature, go to the trek, go to the mountain and take a video. We didn't say that. Or we didn't say that, okay, take a picture of a sparrow or a tiger and then give us some impressive thing. We didn't want to do that.
Right.
We didn't want to do like a National Geographic photographic competition. We wanted them to say whatever you said in your essay, action oriented things, make the visual out of it.
Okay.
And it should not be more than 3 minutes. Because today we have the habit that TV debates last for more than 1 hour and then it keeps on repeating 24 hours. We didn't want those kind of things. We want them to be brief. The brevity is the essence of urgency. And that brevity we wanted to see them in 3 minutes video. So we evaluated that jointly with Operation Earth and this thing, and then we selected final 3.
Okay.
And those 3 finals, one is from IIT Jharkhand, Dhanbad.
Okay.
Another is from NIT Durgapur in West Bengal.
Uh-huh.
And one is from MIT Pune. She is also the expert in various programs of conservation of nature. So there's a Tejas, Kishore and Devashri.
Okay.
These are the 3 selected through the national process, and it so happened that geographically also they are dispersed.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm very happy that at least 2 of them are close to the nature.
Right.
One of course is from Pune, so it is already urbanized.
Yes.
But one is from Jharkhand,
Right.
so that is very close to the
Yes.
nature and primitive life. Another is from West Bengal, Durgapur, which is also has a natural background and all those things.
So when you went through this entire process of screening so many, applications, then the essays, then the videos, what do you think about this youth, where it is heading?
I think youth is the solid foundation that India has got. We measure the wealth of the country, particularly in India, about in terms of gross domestic product. We say that what is your current account, what is your exports, and what is your deficits and budgets and all those things. But I think we should start measuring it with the talented people. There are so many, and there are so many hidden everywhere, and we are unable to tap them. That is the point. Our present education system is totally archaic in terms of tapping the talents. I feel that during this process we found that the talents exist in a certain packets. There has to be a good method to get it.
Okay.
Competition through the examination is overshadowing the what is called as exploring the potential of the youth. That's number one. Number two is always somebody is saying I'm better than you, right? And so you are happy that I'm better than you. But what is the criteria of that betterment is not really known. So we came through such kind of things slowly. I myself don't want to be saying something. I've gone through the different kind of a competition process. I passed the IIT examination, which was also equally tough. But I know that that is not the only way to tap the talents. There are many other ways of tapping.
Right. Question would be I have is like, though this particular expedition is for the betterment of both the countries, but then what if there are any kind of conflicts, arise out of it? What do you think? How we would be able to, tackle with those?
That is you can say that it is a difficult question as well as it is a simple question if we change our mind. The way we look at the diplomacy, the politics, the economics, then if you take Narendra Modi's or Prime Minister Narendra Ji Modi's saying Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, so the world is a family. Every family is unhappy with certain conflicts, but it is also happy with certain things. And to keep the family together, you have to only take out that good part of it. You cannot say that we want to eliminate the conflicts. Conflicts will remain.
Yeah.
Even it exists in a nature. The nature, you see the conflicts. One animal against another. One tree competes with another tree. Important thing is try to find out how we solve our common problems. And the common problem, as I said, is related to the environmental degradation for a sustainable development. So let's say typically India and China has a border issues. That's number one. Number two is we have a trade competition. Third thing is whatever the Chinese projects are there and whatever the Indian projects are there, they may appear to be in conflict. But for me, having spent about more than 20 years in the United Nations at a global level, and the United Nations basic objective is to deal with the conflicts,
Right.
Whether it is environmental, social or political. And having seen also the private sector where I worked, where there is a fierce competition. So I have seen the competition, I have seen the conflict resolution. I have come to the conclusion that conflicts are always a transition way.
Okay.
They are never permanent. Just like there is a great saying that there is no permanent enemy, right? The enemy today's enemy can become tomorrow's friend.
Right.
It has happened. I don't think I should take an example.
Okay.
And today's friend can become an enemy.
Yeah.
So I think knowing the thousands of years of legacy of having brotherhood between India and China, that is so strong that the small conflicts are immaterial. I think they can be easily overshadowed by people to people contact and youth to youth contact.
Okay.
And this is what exactly Operation Earth and their policy center is trying to do.
Okay, that's great. So I would like to have one last quote from you. Like, what message you would like to give youth of both the countries, like being your neighbors? Like, what message you would like to give specifically to the youth?
One word:
Yeah, please.
partnership.
Excellent. We wish you all the best for
Thank
this,
you.
not only for this expeditions, but then all the expeditions and programs that Their Policy Center and Operation Earth will be doing in future. All the
Thank
best,
you.
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Bye.